Welcome back, class, to another live stream of Animation Collab, where I experiment with new techniques in my animation laboratory in collaboration with other content creators. My name is Sonja, I'm a motion designer, and if you'd like to support me, you can subscribe if you haven't already. I live stream every Tuesday and Friday. Today I will be continuing the collaboration with Andy, who you can find on YouTube under ROT169. The link will be in the description of this video, and he does cybersecurity videos, and he's asked me if I could help him with the animation for one of his upcoming videos, which I have been working on for the past few streams. If you've missed those and you'd like to catch up, all of my past streams are available as replays on my YouTube channel. And yeah, let's dive right into this design. So we're pretty close to the end of the storyboarding process, which is very exciting, and we'll soon be diving into the setup stage, setting up all of the assets to make them into scenes that then will be imported into After Effects and then animated in After Effects. So let's have a look. So this is the second storyboard, and I think I'm pretty happy with everything that's appearing here. I don't think I want to make any huge changes. The only thing that is missing now is adding the subtitles on top of the frames, so that when I export this as a PDF and I can show it to Andy and he can see the screens, the screens together with the script on each of the frames, so he can follow along without having to have another document open or remember his script. And now the first one, actually, I just remembered that Tom kindly recreated Andy's logo for me, so I didn't have to use this expanded version, and I'm just gonna go and grab that. Give me just a second. Okay, let me save that. So thanks, Tom, for creating that logo for me. That way I also don't have to ask Andy to create some sort of vectorized logo, which I'm not even sure if he would have it. I don't know how he created the logo, and it saves me a little bit of time, so thank you, Tom. Okay, so let's open that up. All right, very nice. Whoops, oh no, come on. Illustrator is being a little temperamental. There we go. Okay, excellent. So this is pretty nice and sharp. So let's grab that. I'm just gonna grab all of these shapes, and actually he's even separated them. That is so nice. That way I can actually animate it later on. You know what? I'm gonna leave it here. I mean, I'm gonna just keep the logo as is. And then I can actually use it in the final. Whoops. Okay, that did not quite work. Okay. Whoa, what happened there? Why did it get all weirdly separated? That's strange. So there's the shield, and the shield is in white. That's, oh, there must be some sort of attribute on top, is there? Other options? Okay, so he created a knockout group. So I'm actually, I guess, I wonder if I can just group this and add the knockout group to that, because I'm pretty sure this is a group and not a layer. A layer, not a group. So to test that theory, I'm gonna take this out. Yeah, okay, so in order to keep it that way, I'm just gonna have to add the knockout group, and there it is. Excellent. So yeah, I'm just gonna have to do it this way if I want to take this over to the storyboard. So that's not a big deal. I'll just do that. Then it has a double knockout group. I just need to make sure not to save over this because I actually want to keep it the way it is. And then I can like save it out as a template type thing, as a template document, or I mean, I don't have to save it out. It's already a document and I can just use it as like a standalone, not embedded into the scene kind of a thing. Okay, one more knockout group. Wait, grouping that, and then I'm just gonna create the knockout group. I've never used this option with the knockout group. I've only ever used like the clipping mask or the when you hit Alt, you can do like a minus front compound shape, which is like a if you're holding Alt to click that to use this Pathfinder option of minus front, it doesn't create a grouped compound shape. It creates kind of like a clipping mask. It works like a clipping mask. It's a group that you can untoggle and then you can change the objects inside. I think I explained that a little bit last time. So cool. Now we've got those. It's funny how this one added the little opaque symbol that there's a knockout group there. Oh, not a knockout. Sorry. Yes, a knockout group. And the other ones don't have that. That's kind of strange. But okay, doesn't matter. Let's group all of that and copy it. And I'm gonna paste it over here. And I'm just gonna close this and not save it because I wanna keep the original as is. Yeah, see, this is what I mean. It like didn't do what it promised to do, which is so strange. Why is it doing that? I must have had something highlighted wrong. Because it's clearly not working the way this is working. Maybe that's because okay, so what's happening here? 0%. Is that because it's a knockout group? No. That's weird. Okay, don't know why I did that. But apparently if I take this 0% up to 100, it works again. But in all honesty, it actually doesn't matter if this is a knockout group or not, because it's just white on a colored background. So in fairness, I can just keep it the way it is. And I'm going to move it in the same, on top of the previous group, just so it's kind of in sequence with the scenes. So it would go here. And I want it centered to this. And I want it to be larger. Oh, okay. If I'm making it larger, then I have to have my scale corners and scale strokes and effects on. Otherwise, the strokes stay the same size and then it looks weird when I scale this up. And now I would like to use some of the colors that I created last time. So let's go with, I'm adding it to the stroke. I don't want to do that. So let's try this darker one. I kind of like that. And this one will also be the darker one, the little muted one. But now if they're muted like that, it can go like this. I prefer the muted one, but it does look very dull. I'll keep it like this. Okay. So also here we're pretty much there. We're pretty much finished. I just want to check through the scenes that everything's here that's supposed to be here. Da, 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 da. And one more thing I want to change here is, first of all, I don't like this weird shadowy thing. Gonna remove that. And maybe I'll make this blue, because it's like an indicator that the mail with the virus arrived, or the malware. And then the bug goes into the system, and this disappears. I don't like the way it's disappearing currently. So what I would like to do is I'll go back in here and I'll grab this document in its original form. And okay, so now I would like, so this is the clipping group. So I'm just gonna pull this in here. And what is this? Oh, that's the background. Okay, that's fine, but I'm going to remove these. And okay, so right now it's only the frame. I guess we can do it like that, that only the frame is disappearing. Okay. Okay, so instead of all of that kind of squishing away, I didn't quite like the look of that. So the background is fading away, and maybe just everything is fading away. So let's do it like that. That this will... the opacity is at 100%, so how is that possible? Oh, it's because I changed just the fill opacity. So instead, I'm going to change the opacity of this entire group. Let's put that down to 50, and this dot should be part of it too. And the frame just kind of, it animates itself away. So something like that, and then this pops up. And actually, this is in a larger group, which I don't want. Let's remove that. I think what I would like for this... Why is it wider than... That's weird. The bounding box was larger than the object, which is a little strange. Oh, it's because of the 50 that goes below. Okay. What I'd like is I'll copy this and I'll put it here. So I want to show that this like animates in, it like pops up and then executes, and actually it doesn't, you know, it's not at 100% or at 50%. So I'm actually going to hide that. I'll make this 100% instead, and I'll hide it, and I'll hide, or I'll change this to 0%, because currently it's at 0%, and it was not in the center, so let's adjust that too. So it's popping onto the screen, and then it's executing. And let's save that. And now finally we come to this final scene that I've kept talking about, that I don't like it and it's too busy. So I have two ideas for this scene. One is just using the titles for the 3 scenes that are now converging here, or it's like the 3 things that are being mentioned, which is discovery. No, it's risk of discovery. It's run the code. Okay, I'm gonna have to look at the rough storyboard because I don't remember what's supposed to be happening here. Oh, it's initial access, execution, and persistence. Persistence, yeah, and persistence is spelled with an M instead of an N. So it's initial access, execution, and persistence that need to be on screen at the same time. These are the 3 the 3 access methods that a hacker might use. So it's the initial access, the sending the malware, then the execution where the malware is being opened, perhaps through like a spam email where you click on a link, and then some sort of bug is being installed through the execution onto your system. So those 3 are now supposed to be on screen. And so what I would like to do is I'm going to remove these, and instead I'm gonna have this as a transition screen again. And at this point it's 100%. And this is not in the center. Come on. Okay, I'm gonna have to center it like this. And this is going to be off animation, so it got to 100% and now it's going away again. And now I thought for initial access, what we had was this graphic. I mean, it could either be the letter or it could be this, but actually when we saw this, it was this illustration that was the initial access. So I think what I want to do is, I'd like to grab this, and why is the monitor all cut up here? I'm also going to remove that. And I'm going to group the all the parts of the monitor because somehow they are yeah, okay, so yeah, I'll just grab that and the little letter. And I'm gonna go here, and without having the monitor on screen, this is going to look so much cleaner. So let's just paste this in here. And it's not a group yet, so I'm gonna group it now. So this is the initial access, the execution, so the execution is essentially this, but at 100%. Oh, whoops, need to go into this group. And let's say this is at 100%. And this is again the one that isn't centered. Ah. Nice. That's exactly where I'm going with the whole blue thing. Excellent. That's what we want. And also, I just realized that it doesn't have the outline, this little, I don't know what that's called, this little flag thing. So I actually want that to have the outline as well. Yay. Oh, but that outline somehow is thicker than this outline, which is kind of weird. How is that possible? Why is that outline a different thickness? It's so strange. I don't like how the graphic styles duplicate every time I duplicate an object with that graphic style. I'd like it to understand that I'm using the same graphic style. Is there a way for it to not do that? I don't know if there is. But I like working with the graphic styles because you can really... I started doing this with... So I'm working just a little sidetrack on this project. I'll show you something. I'm working on this personal project, these mindfulness stickers. And I was putting together this little post about mindfulness. Let me just find the folder. You can see that that post on my Instagram account, and it's basically this. And what I was doing here is I had this text that had a fill. Then I wanted the fill or the text to also have a stroke, but then I also wanted it to have this white outline. And previously what I was doing is I would just get the text, have it have the outline with like this point, this, what is it called? Brush definition, which has the round point. That means the stroke doesn't scale, and I don't know, it has some other properties. And basically, when I would put the second stroke on it, it would be like on top. And I was like, but hang on, I'm pretty sure you can move the arrangement of where the stroke sits if it's on top of the fill and below the fill. And then I also remember that you can have multiple strokes on one object. So previously what I was doing, I just have the text with the fill and the stroke, and then to create the outline, I just duplicate that and then just add this like extra thick outline that would sit behind it. And then I realized, but then I'd have to have like all of this text like duplicated multiple times, and it was getting really messy and really unorganized. So then I realized, oh yeah, I can have multiple strokes on one object and I can rearrange where it's sitting. So I did that, and then I can save that specific thing as a graphic style in Illustrator. I can go in here and I can add that graphic style, and I can even name it. So I didn't name any of these. Here there's this one, which is an Illustrator one, I guess. So that's really cool. I didn't realize you could do that, and I learned that recently, and I was very proud of myself. So yeah, that's a really cool thing. But then the problem is every time you duplicate that object with that graphic style, it duplicates the graphic style as well. Why? That doesn't make any sense at all. Like, if you do that with objects with the same swatch, it doesn't duplicate the swatch every time you duplicate the object. I don't know why it would do that with graphic styles, because then you end up having a million of the same graphic styles, and when you make a change to the graphic style, it's supposed to apply that to the object that has the graphic style. But if they're not all using the same graphic style, that function gets lost. So that's kind of annoying that that happens. So let me put this back to this dark black, and this is one of the few graphic styles I didn't save, so let me save that. Oh no, wait, it's supposed to be not the dark one. Actually, I don't know if you can change the graphic style, because actually... Oh, it shows me which thing uses that graphic style. That's interesting. Alright. I don't know how useful that is, but... actually, I want the fill to be the light one, so that the dark outline stands out. So, like that. There's like always this like, when I zoom in, all of the lines are straight. When I zoom out, can you see this? There's like this, you can probably not see that, but there's like these bumps. So it looks like it's not completely straight, which is really weird. Okay, anyway, back to our design. So now what I would like to do is, so I'm animating all of these in. And I think I need this to also be smaller. Right now, this looks absolutely huge compared to this. Even though it is taller, it's still the body of it is smaller than this executes. So need to find a middle ground. And what I would like to do, I'd like to bring back the titles for this to make it a little bit more clear what we're talking about. And I think what I'm also going to do, let me think. Yeah, I don't know. But, okay, wait. I'm not gonna duplicate it from here. I'm just gonna grab, execute. Execution. Okay, I don't actually have that here, so I need to add that to this. T. Execution. So if anybody's watching apart from Tom, do give me a shout out in the chat, because I can't see that anybody is watching. Even though Tom already left a message in the chat, OBS is still telling me that nobody is watching. So if you're there, give me a hi in the chat. Okay, so now we have the execution. And I want this entire thing. I'm gonna put it here. And then I'm gonna have to decide if I still find that it's too full. I don't know. So far it's all good. Oh, I should probably bring that into the group. Like that. Oh no, I put it everywhere. So if you hold Control, Shift, and Alt to paste something, it will paste it on all of your artboards in your Illustrator file, which can be useful for some things, but it's not what I want to do right now. And I also need to center this in some sensible way. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get my center mark and my crosshairs back so I can see the edge of the screen and the center of that, which means I probably don't want to go further out than this. But maybe I want to center this between the center mark and this. You know what? I'm just gonna use a shape to do a very rough. Come on. Okay, it could go a little further, like that probably. Well, close enough. Let's say that's in the center between those two. And I know this isn't in the... Well, yeah. So I guess if I move this... So I basically want this to be in the center of the frame, the artboard, and this title safe, which is the one further out. No, actually, title safe is the one further in. Motion safe is the one further out. So technically, I should be keeping this in the inner guideline, but that's really a very strict way of using the title guides from when TVs used to be curved and, you know, things used to be distorted on the edge of the screen. We don't have that problem anymore, so we can go a little bit closer to the edge. Nice. Hi, Mr. M2. Welcome to the stream. I'm gonna turn on the light. I don't think you probably don't have a problem with seeing me, but it's kind of weird looking at a really bright screen while the rest of the room is getting really dark. So give me just a second. All right, there we are. And now my background is a little more orange than it was before. Okay, so we've got initial access, we've got execution. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do that. And now everything's nice and center. Oh, but yeah, actually this is centered to the whole thing. It's fine. It's just a few pixels off. It's fine. And now that also means I can bring this further up so that now I'll have space for, did I? Yeah, I did. Okay. Persistence down at the bottom. And that is, yeah, it's just written, it's just persistence. Persistence. And I'm never sure if you spell that with an A or an E, but you do spell it with an E. Persistence. Okay, and that can also go a little closer to here. And that way... and what I would also like is... I think I would like it that there would be a line here as well. So from, oops, no, I don't want to add to this. I want this to be a separate line. So I'd like to separate initial access from execution, and maybe I do want to push it out to be in the center of this cube now, because now it's way more obvious that there is, with this separation, it's way more obvious that it's closer to the center than to the edge of the screen. So maybe, what if I just, no, I'm gonna have to push it out a little more. But this actually doesn't need to be in the center because I'm gonna have these little circle things. Okay. So let me finish this design on this screen, and then I can do the same thing that I did last time, where I take away stuff to build up the first scene or screen of this scene. So let's finish this off. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm just going to create a that, and then I can center everything to this. Oh no, didn't mean to do that. Okay. I had the group selection tool on, and I need to have the regular selection tool, which is the, yeah, just a selection tool. Okay, and now I can do the same thing over here, and then everything will absolutely be in the center. But actually, I don't want this to be in the center, maybe. I don't know. I'll make my mind up later. Let's just center everything, and then I can come back to how exactly I want this to be distributed. Let's just keep everything in the center for now. Okay, so I want to also, just so there's a little bit of consistency, maybe have this title away from this line as much as the top titles are away from their respective lines, or edge of the screen, really. Hi! Welcome to the stream! I had no idea that people were still watching on Periscope. That's cool. Periscope will soon stop existing. So if you are watching on Periscope and you'd like to continue watching, come over to Twitch or YouTube. You can find me under Sonja Geracsek. I mean, the same way you see me on Periscope currently. And you can subscribe to my channel and be notified about new live streams. Okay, So we've got this, which is looking so much cleaner than all of whatever this is. I'm still not a huge fan of the titles being here and being so big, so that's maybe something I'm gonna adjust. But maybe I'm gonna wait until the animation stage when I can see everything on screen and moving and see how much space it takes up and so on. So, now we need these little access points, and I think this hacker is gonna try and get in like 3 times. Let's just say they are gonna try and get in 3 times, and also I can put this, can move this to right to the edge of the title. And maybe I want this to be in the center like that. And then I can align the center one to be the same distance between those two. And now I'm going to duplicate that. Push it to, actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I can use O, which is, I don't know what O is. I learned about O, which is just the keyboard shortcut O, to access this. I think it's the reflect. Hi, welcome to the stream. It's like this reflect option. It's transform reflect, and you can call this with O. Don't ask me if it's actually the reflect option or if it's some sort of sub option. But what you can do is you can put it like in the center of the screen, and then it's going to reflect from that point. If I hold Shift and Alt, it will flip this around. I can drag and flip, and then it will be in the exact same position on the other side of your screen. So that's really useful in this case. And then what I would like to do, I would like to add these lines, but I don't like these like wonky looking lines. So what I'm gonna do instead, you know what? I'm gonna use this, the rounded rectangle, and then I'm just gonna get rid of the, the top part. And now I can also adjust the roundness. And I want this to be quite a bit round, actually. Why is it not changing? Okay, now it's round, nice and round. And I want this to be... No, I'm gonna leave it like it is. And maybe make it a little round, actually. Maybe something like this. Whoa, nope. Okay, and now what I can do, I can just remove these. Actually, no, I don't want to remove them just yet because I want them to stop here at the center of the ellipse. And then I can remove the other ones, and that way I'll keep these. Oh no, I hope I didn't highlight something wrong. Okay, and now I can go out of this group and I can copy. Actually, I can just add this as a graphical style because I haven't done that yet. And then I can add the graphical style to this. Yay! And then it looks like this. And yeah, I like that way more than this weird wonky thing. And now I can copy paste that, and I don't know if I can stretch it because then, yeah, the corner is also going to stretch. But actually, what I can do is I can stretch it this way. Oh, I haven't, have I deleted it? I guess I deleted it. I'll paste it again. I can stretch it this way, and then let's say I want it to be like this far away from the top one, and actually I can probably just move this top one down a little bit more with the selection tool. No, it's the direct selection tool instead of the selection tool, which means I can highlight singular anchor points, and I'll just bring it up just a tiny little bit up, like that maybe. That way I can save a little bit of space for the next one, and I can actually push this entire thing up just a tad as well. Because I can actually make these things just a little bit smaller. Let's say this small. And then I can move them up a little bit. And then this entire thing has a little bit more space. And I just realized that this line is not inside of the group. So I'll put it inside the group. And then I can highlight all of these. But somehow I think I didn't use the direct selection tool. So let's do that this time. And now, of course, I need to actually move it over so it's in the center of this next ellipse. So it's not aligning with the center of the ellipse, which is kind of annoying. It's aligning with like the side, but now it's in the center. I'm gonna try this again. But also I just realized that it did make the bend in the corner larger, and I don't want that. I want the bend to look exactly the same, but just be wider. So instead of scaling it, I am just going to move it straight from here. And I'm gonna bring this back up to this one. And I'm using the vertical align to bring it back up. And I can actually do it before I move it. That way I can center it to the ellipse better later on. So I want this, this, and this. Oh, no. That's a little bit the annoying part when stuff is sitting right on top of each other. Sometimes it's difficult to grab what you need. Okay. Now that's aligned. Okay. Okay, it still looks like the corners are wider. I thought it wouldn't look quite so much that way if I hadn't, you know, if I didn't use the scale tool. But yeah, the corners are exactly the same. All right, well, it's perception. What can you do? And then I want a third one, but actually I'm just realizing that they are taking up a whole lot of space, and I think I don't want them to. Actually, I guess I can go all the way to the bottom like that. I can just vertically distribute them. Oh, that doesn't work because they're going like past this point, but wait a second. Maybe I can do it now. Oops, nope. Didn't mean to do that. Vertically distribute. No, it doesn't work because they are at the same top space. Oh wait, but they're like not the correct height. Okay, there we go. Same here. If you have any questions while I'm working about Illustrator, After Effects, my work process, drop them in the chat. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Oh no! What did I do? Hello. Here. This, and this. All right. Yeah, so now I guess I can bring this down just a little bit more to kind of align between these two. Something like that. Okay. And now, if we jump out, it can look something like this. I'll take away the subtitle for just a second. Have I taken any courses, or have I taught any courses? I have not taken any courses, if that's what you're asking. I have taught my own online classes, though. If you're wondering if I have taught courses, you can find my After Effects animation online classes on my website, which is classes.sonjageracek.me. That's where you can find my courses. Okay, so let's compare this one with this one. I mean, I feel like this is way cleaner already. It's still a little bit crowded compared to the other screens. So I don't know if I want to do something about that or if I'm just going to accept it. I think maybe I'll see what Andy has to say. What I would like to do is take this away from the title a little bit, because these at the bottom here, the lines, they can squish together a little bit. That doesn't bother me as much as it being too close to the screen edge or too close to the title. So I guess they can be like this. I can even squish this together just a tiny little bit more. Okay, so now persistence has a little bit of breathing room. Okay, let's get rid of all the rest of this because it's absolutely awful. And now let's think about what the animation could look like. So maybe, so it starts with the text, which goes, techniques, early stages, attack may involve risk and discovery, perhaps relate, blah, 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 blah. So a common next step is to then establish more reliable method of persistence, so it's easier to run code. Or gain access to a compromised system at a later date. More advanced attackers are likely to configure multiple different methods of persistence so they can retain access. So basically, I don't know from what Andy has told me, but his videos are roughly between 8 and 14 minutes, or yeah, something like that. 6, 7 to 14 minutes. That's the length range. So the video will probably fall in that time. Just by looking at the script, I can tell that it's probably, well, it's definitely going to be longer than 4 minutes. But I don't know if it's going to be 14 minutes because a lot of the screens, at least from the animation point of view, there's a lot of the time when not a lot of animation is happening. It's just a lot of text explaining, or just in my case, I'm only seeing the text. So there's a lot of speech. So from the animation standpoint, it's not. So, okay, I'll take you back one more step. if I'm talking about an animation of 4 minutes length, that's a pretty long animation. If this animation was fully animated, every scene had a lot going on, which is usually the case with explainer videos. So 4 minutes of animation is usually a lot of animation. But in the case of Andy's video, we've kept the graphics quite minimal and just to highlight the story and highlight his voiceover. So 4 minutes in Andy's video is not actually as condensed as 4 minutes in other explainer videos might be. So it might be close to like maybe 8 minutes, something like that. I'm gonna have to see how long it's actually going to turn out being once I start animating it, and actually I'll know as soon as Andy will have recorded his voiceover, because in order to animate this, it's best to animate to a voiceover, then animate it first and then make adjustments to the voiceover, because you're gonna end up doing the work twice. If you're able to work or animate synchronized to a voiceover, you'll have much less editing work to do afterwards. And I do work with a kind of a blocking method, but not to the extent where I block every single thing in the animation and then I go in and animate it. The way I do blocking is within one scene, I block out the big animations and then I go into the details further and further until every part of that scene is animated. Okay, so let's save this, and what we could do is, so I definitely want this to be the last scene, so I'm gonna put this here. And maybe what I want is first, I'm not deleting anything. I'm going to group a few things just to make looking at all of these things a little easier. And what's this? So the lines, I'm just going to put them here. Then we've got the execute, and the 3 titles. I'll put those at the top. Then we've got this, and we've got the lines, which I'm also going to group. Okay. I want to now start hiding things, and I don't want to delete stuff because I want to be able to grab things from each of the screens of this scene, so that if I grab an asset, I can be sure that I have everything that is going to be required for the scene setup file. Okay, so I'm gonna get rid of, not that. I'm gonna get rid of, so this is the first thing, this is the second thing, and these are the lines, okay. And I'll get rid of that. No, I need the execute, the initial access. Okay, so let's put those two together. And the persistence is also not here. Okay. So maybe what I want. I was thinking that maybe I like. Okay, let me think. Let's hide this one. Yeah, maybe like this one comes in, like that. And let me think. Maybe this will be in the center. So let's just say I'll group this and I'll group this. And these two will be like that. And for now, this will be hidden. And then we go to this screen, and here it will come into view. But let's indicate some animation as we're going. So let's indicate, and maybe this entire thing is gone. Okay. So this comes in, the line starts building up, this comes in. Then we have, and now I can start removing these notes that I put here as well. Ah, damn it. Copy, paste. That's probably about right. Now let's say this is at the bottom. And then, and I'm adding this many stages to the animation because Andy is talking about the same thing for a while. So I want stuff to slowly be happening on screen, even though not a lot is changing, just to keep the eye of the audience occupied while Andy is delivering this information. Okay, so now I want to copy this because I want to go back to the original. And what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna hide. Oh no, I hadn't grouped anything at this stage. No, I have to group everything again. Group. 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 Okay, excellent. So now I want to, oh yeah, and maybe I'll group this too. Hide that. Now the persistence is coming in from off screen. And I'll indicate that by having this animated or like in a different position. And now I'm gonna have the same problem with this not being grouped. I'll go back in here and I'll group that, so then every time I copy paste this, I'm not gonna complain that this is not grouped. Group. 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 Okay. Somehow something got lost here. Oh no, 2 of the lines are not in this group. Okay. All right. Then the next part is going to be that it's in position, and now I'm going to start going in and unhighlight or hide. Unhighlight. No, I want this one and this one, and I want those to be hidden. And this one also want those to be hidden. And maybe I'll make this one, whoops, smaller. No, I don't want to rotate it. Oh, no. Okay. I need to zoom in a little bit. Come on. And I want to cut this. So I'm just going to, where is this? And now I'm going to use this Pathfinder minus front with the Alt. I'm holding Alt. Oh no, but then it closes the loop. Okay, I don't want that to happen. What I can do is just move my rectangle on the other side, and that way I'll just use a clipping group. Because what I want to indicate now is that this is animating on. Make clipping mask. And then the next stage is that it's finished. And then the next stage is that there is a second one, which also means I need to remove a few of these. I want to remove the last one. Not remove, just hide. So now we have a second one appearing and a third one. Actually, I can do the clipping mask thing here as well. It'll be a little bit more effective, I think. Having this look like it's animating on as well. And then this one will have the last one coming on. Ta-da! Okay. Let's have a look, and I'm gonna turn the subtitles on. You can read the script at the bottom of the screen as you see the graphics. This is the first scene. Okay, maybe I need to read them for you. Hi, I'm Andy, and this video, and I guess in this video, we'll be exploring Mitre Attack the Framework, which I lightheartedly refer to as the periodic table of cyber attacks, and the blueprint for all the videos in my Attack, Defend, Detect series. No, Detect, Defend. Attack stands for Adversarial Tactics, Techniques, and Common Knowledge. It's a body of knowledge which has been built up over many years, covering the various methods that hackers use to break into systems and achieve their nefarious objectives. Mitre is the organization which developed Attack, as well as a bunch of other awesome resources for the cybersecurity industry, including the Common Vulnerabilities, CVE, and Exposures Data. Oh, the Common Vulnerabilities and Common Exposures. Actually, I think I'm gonna move that over because it's so confusing that it's separated. This is really only for the benefit of Andy and me, but regardless, I'm gonna make that change. Okay, there we go. So including the common vulnerabilities and exposures. Oh, database, damn it. That has to go on the other one too. Database, there we go. For uniquely identifying and objectively scoring computer software vulnerabilities. And actually, you know what? I would like to add a little ending the cycle circle A at this point. First I'm gonna cut the path and then try and get the left path. Nope. And that way it'll look like the path is slowly closing as Andy is talking. Let's take a look at the attack framework. Oh, did that move? It moved. Oh no. Okay. I want to know that this is... Why can I not click this? Again, it's a good idea to close tabs when you don't need them. And there's a random path here. I wonder what that is. Oh, it's this circle. Okay. So for some reason this was not grouped. And that is also a good idea to do. Have your scene graphics grouped. Because you're going to end up with a lot of graphics. It's a good idea that you know that the groups are all one graphic. Fix envelope. Okay, I don't know what I meant by that. Oh yeah, there's something wonky going on here. I shall fix that. And that way I can also get rid of these notes. Okay, I think I did that already. Any other notes? Unify lines. Yeah, I'm gonna think about that actually. Yep. Okay, so I'd like to find why I can't change this. There's a bunch of stuff grouped here. Okay, that's what it is. And because this is a clipping group, it's gonna align with the top of the clipping group instead of the top of the group. But now it should align correctly. Oops, no. Okay. Okay, this is still slightly out of place, I think. No, okay. So when I move to Illustrator, I'm actually not working from this file. Before I start animating Illustrator, there is one more step that I need to go through. So the storyboard that I'm creating, it's as much a design process as it is for the client to look at all of the graphics and how the animation might look in its still form to make changes before you go into the animation stage. So this is not the file I'll be animating with. From this storyboard file, I will create scene files, so separate Illustrator files for each scenes where all the assets of one scene are saved together into one file. And that means I'll have multiple scene files, and those I will then import into After Effects. Some of the assets I might even import with Overlord, which is a Battle Axe extension that Tom can tell you more about if you don't know what that is. But basically you can push paths and objects over to Illustrator, over to After Effects. Without an Illustrator link, they will become shapes in After Effects. And that's really great for certain types of animation. It isn't, if you're creating a large animation, having a lot of shapes is not a great idea because it's really heavy on After Effects. It starts performing very slowly. So I only push over shapes, selected shapes that I want to manipulate as shapes rather than linked Illustrator files. So if that was a lot of information, do let me know and I can explain details a little slower. But basically this storyboard file is not the final asset file that I will be using for animation. Okay, well, if you have any specific questions, something that you didn't understand from what I just told you, just let me know and I'll try and break that down a little bit more. Okay, where were we? Here. So I'll keep going through the storyboard with you. Let's take a closer look. Let's take a look at the attack framework. Each individual item is an offensive cyber technique. They're grouped into columns, the tactics, broadly aligned to the type of effect that the techniques aim to achieve. Note that hacking into a system is not a one-step process. No single item here makes up an entire attack. Rather, an attacker will use a combination probably of these techniques in order to achieve their objective. In order of the columns, the order of the columns roughly matches the order in which an attacker would need to apply each technique in an end-to-end attack. Although in reality there's a fair bit of jumping around and repetition as an attacker moves from system to system. Let's have a look at each tactic in a little more detail. Rather, an attacker... Oh, wait, there's something missing here. The first step, okay. So I missed something in the subtitle here. So the way I do it is, this is actually part of the steps that I would still go through in the storyboard. I would look at my storyboard and look at where scenes can be broken up. Let's say I have a shape animation like this text. It goes from this text to this text, and then I would like this text to change to this text, but actually maybe not, because now I have this logo. So previously I thought I would be going from this text and that text can morph into this text. And in that case, I wouldn't want to split those two scenes up. I want to keep them together so that I can use the same assets within one scene, and that Illustrator file, which would hold all of the assets for one scene, would be imported into After Effects. That would then become the comp as a scene in After Effects. And so each Illustrator file that I set up as one scene will become a comp in After Effects. So they match by name and by assets together. And anytime I can make a kind of like a cut, if you think about movies where one person is talking and then there's a cut and then you see the other person talking. So I think of my animations similarly. Anytime that there's a cut or where objects don't morph into other objects, that's where I will create a new scene file. So that's the cut. So even with stuff like yeah, like here, for example, okay? We're going from this scene with the MITRE information to the attack framework. There are no assets from this scene in this scene, which means even if I animate them on and off and they overlap, maybe there's like a second where they are both on screen, they can be in different comps and in different scenes because I can have one animate off while the other animates on. So that's how I make the decision. And usually what I do before I create those scene files, I number my scenes just to make a rough kind of, I go through and I say, okay, the first scene starts here. Where does it finish? Maybe it finishes here. Maybe it incorporates this logo. And if it incorporates this logo, then I'm going to have to animate this attack title back into the frame. So if I'm going to do that, I might as well just have this as the second scene. So what I can do is, I don't know where my second number 2 is. There should be a number 2 somewhere. I don't know. Must have gotten lost. Yeah, it's here because originally I thought I would actually, let me block everything else that I don't need right now. I initially thought that this entire thing here would be one scene, but now that Andy wanted his logo in here, I'm actually going to cut that scene there. So I'm going to grab this 2, and I'm going to paste it in here. So that means this is scene 1 from here to here, but it will include this. So actually, this is now scene 2. And this would be part of my prepping process. So before I set up my scene files, I'll look at my storyboard, I'll do the numbering, because I'll see if I can find an example for my numbering system. Let me see if I can find an animation file where I have a few different scenes. Yeah, I guess this one is... So this is an animation collab that I did with Stina Jones. So even though I don't have multiple scenes, this is essentially how I would name my scenes. So I have 0, 1, 0. So the first 0 is just your regular numbering, so that when you get past 10, it still sequences your files when you order them by name. So it's 0, 1, 0, 2 until I get to 10, and then it's 10, 11, 12, and so on. And the last 0 is basically if anything happens in like a long animation, maybe the client will change their mind, or I will change my mind on how the sequence of the scenes might happen, and maybe I decide between scene 1 and 2, I want to splice in a different scene, and then the whole naming system would fall apart, but not if I have the second 0 in the back, because then I can utilize that 0 to make it a 1. So I'll show you. So let's say I didn't use any naming method, and it was just scene 1, okay? And then I have, okay, like this. And then I have scene 2, and they arrange nicely, that's fine. But as soon as I get to scene 10 will not be at the end. Oh, now it is, that's weird. Okay, that was a bad example. But normally, maybe Windows fixed this, maybe it can read 10 now. Back in the day, it was not the case, okay? If I created something with a 1 and then I named something with a 10 in the front, the 10 would appear here right after the 1, okay? Basically. That's the basis of the naming system when things weren't working like they are right now. And that's why you would number stuff 0, 1, 0, 2 until you get to 10, okay? Now, with my 0 at the end method, if I have a 0 to 0, they arrange nicely. But now if I want to splice something in between, I can utilize that too. That 0, and I can call it 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, and that way it stays between the 0, 1, 0 and the 0, 2, 0, right? It doesn't go after the 0, 2, 0, it goes in between. And it also means I have 9 more spaces, 9 more scenes that I can squeeze in between 1 and 2 if down the line, down the production process, I find that I need to splice in scenes. So that's how I do my naming, and the Illustrator files will match the comp files that I have in After Effects, at least the top comps. And what I do then, I can show you that too. Let me go into I have a setup folder structure actually, for all types of projects. I have a video, tutorial, design, class, animation, folder structure that I use every time. Yeah, so lexicographical ordering is the 10 before 2, which is what Tom just said. And so apparently Windows fixed that, but yeah, it's still the case for a bunch of other systems. So that's why I have that naming system. Okay, and alpha, I think you meant to write alpha, right? Alphanumeric is where 10 is after 2. Yeah, so that's now apparently the case. I'm on a Windows machine, so that seems to have been fixed, but it didn't used to be that way. And I think After Effects is also not that way. So anyway, let's go into my... Yeah, alphanumeric is what you meant to say. So this is my template After Effects file where I have like some of the basic structure of my comps and my folders, and I just kind of start importing stuff. I also have just a few preset animation presets that are embedded into this file. And I'll show you that as soon as After Effects allows me to make this smaller. So this is my basic setup. I have some animation presets, and in here I have something like the pop-up bounce, which is essentially inertial bounce, I think. So it's when something pops up and it like bobs a little bit. I'll see if I can show you that. So let me reset this to small screen. Okay, so the pop-up bounce is inertial bounce, so it has like this slow like bounce. I have loop out ping pong because it used to be really annoying to type that out every time, but After Effects has improved that now, so I don't actually need that. But then I have a bounce controller where I can link a whole bunch of objects to the same bounce, amplitude, frequency, and decay. I have a wiggle controller, which I use all the time when I want stuff to wiggle and I want to be able to control the amplitude and the frequency. But anyway, I'm getting distracted. So I have some animation presets. I have some folders set up for all the assets that I might import. So there's audio, there's scenes, there is stills templates. Sometimes I have a few animation templates that I've set up for myself. So these are some of the templates that I have that I can import because it's like something I use all the time, like my social media handle that I sometimes put on the side of my posts, and video when I'm doing my classes, for example. And then basically I have my comps, and they are not including my main comp. So my main comp is the thing that I export. And usually what I have in my main comp is a scene comp where all the scenes are inside. So it goes in the order of main comp, animation comp, And then in the animation comp, I have scenes, I have effects, I have everything inside of there. The scene comps are the Illustrator files with all the assets inside. And basically, if I have, like, for example, so in the animation comp, all the scenes are inside. And in the main comp, I only have the animation comp and maybe a soundtrack. Nothing else. I don't want anything else in that comp. I'm very rigorous about that. There are multiple reasons why I've come to this workflow with my various comps. One of them being that, especially when I'm creating looped animation, I usually animate from like the beginning of something. Let's say a character is standing and then they start walking and they do something and then they stop doing that. And that's like the full loop. But to make it interesting, sometimes you want to start in the middle of your animation. And in that case, instead of like dragging everything over in all of your scenes, all of your keyframes and all of that, I like having just this comp. I can create a time remapping. I can enable time remapping, which means I can then loop my entire animation and then grab that comp, grab that layer inside of my main comp and just shift it over. And that way I don't have to worry about any of the keyframes. They're all working inside of that comp. So that's my basic setup for animation. It's a lot of what's the little Russian dolls, babushka style comps. And I try not to have too many comps, kind of boxed inside of each other. But there are a few, especially like the main comp, the animation comp, or it's like and then the scene comps. And then inside of the scene comps, I might even have subcomps as well. If it's something, it's like a character that has a bunch of layers and I just want to have a little bit of order. What I then do, I will have all of that stuff inside of my scene comp. But I can, like, let's say I have a bunch of, like, let's say this is a character and I just don't want all of these layers here because I have like 100 layers in that comp. So I want to simplify stuff. Oops, I switched to a different screen. I will pre-comp this and I will create a subcomp with a little A in front of it and then the name of the scene. And that way, that nicely organizes in here if I have the name and the tag, I think, something like this. It's like I have to have the name and the tag, or just the tag, I don't know. Anyway, it works well this way, because then, as soon as I have my second scene, that will then arrange after my A's. Okay, wait, something's wrong here. Like that. Okay, now it's correct. So here's my first scene. Here's the sub-comp of that first scene. And I can have multiples of those. And depending, sometimes I even change this to a B if I want them to be like temporally different. Like, let's say A is in the beginning of that scene and B is like later in that scene. That way I can kind of see that in my project window as well. And then this is scene 1 with all of its sub-scenes, and then scene 2 with all of its sub-scenes, and so on. So that's my super in-depth naming and project structuring method. I hope that was interesting for you. All right. So let's continue looking here. Techniques. Aim to achieve. Note that hacking is not the one-step process. Combination of multiple. We were here. And then, rather than attacker will use combination of these techniques in order to achieve the objective. This could be technical, such as domain names, IP address, or public-facing services. Oh, there's no... Which could be of use in creating more... There's no text here? Or information of organizational structure. Yeah, this is missing here. Subtitle. Oh no. Okay. What happened? There we go. Or information about people or organizational structure, which could be of use in creating more realistic phishing attacks or social engineering. Another key step in preparing attack is resource development, where an attacker sets up the infrastructure and accounts that they'll use to launch and control their attack, and write the malware and tools they'll use in later stages. With the right preparation now in place, the attacker can begin with initial access. Ooh, I also need to add the outline to this. Okay. Okay. Oh, there's no text for this? Where the right person initial access. Okay. This is all but getting the proverbial foot in the door of a computer system so that further attacks can be applied. This might be through exploiting a technical service which is exposed to the internet, but often it's easier to exploiting human weakness through phishing or social engineering. The obvious next step is execution, which involves running some malicious code on a targeted system. Targeted system. There's something missing in this text. Okay. The techniques used in these early stages of a attack, probably, may have involved a significant amount of risk of discovery, or perhaps relied on tricking an innocent user into doing something they shouldn't. So a common next step is to then establish a more reliable method of persistence so that it's easier to run code or regain access to a compromised system at a later date. More advanced attackers are likely to configure multiple different methods of persistence so that they can retain access even if one gets discovered or cleaned up. Now an attacker has a reliable access route into a system. They'll look to expand their level of access through a combination of various techniques. Okay, now that I was reading the text, I was barely paying attention to the look of this scene, but I think I'm pretty happy with it. Let me know what you think, if it's looking as clean as I would like it to be. I think that's pretty good. So that's the first storyboard. At this stage, I would then make decisions on where the scenes end and begin. So, this is probably the second scene, and most likely the third scene starts here, and I moved the number 3 here. Okay, So the third scene would start here. And that would go until here. So now I can, you know what, I'm gonna delete these because it's easier to copy this into the right place. So this is scene number 4. And that goes until here. And now we have a new scene. That's number 5. So anytime there's a clear cut between the assets that appear on screen, that's where I would set a new scene number. So basically here we're still using the same asset, which is the letter and the envelope. But actually this one, between this one and this one, those are kind of 2 distinct scenes, because this is being sent off somewhere and then it's being received on a different system. So those could be 2 different scenes. Let's actually do that. So, and when I'm setting up my scene files, at that stage, I sometimes still change my mind and change the scene number. Oh, actually, that's not the scene. This is the scene. So this is a new scene. This is still the same scene. This is still the same scene. This is where the animation off happens, which means this would then be a new scene. And this is another animation off, where the assets animate off screen or disappear. So at this point, this would be a new scene. And then this entire rest is one scene. So the next scene in the next storyboard will start at 8. So that's storyboard 1. This is storyboard 2. So here we are starting with number 9. And I will lock everything else apart from the numbers because I don't want any of this to get touched or accidentally deleted. So this scene from here is actually the same scene, even though we have like the title that defines new things happening. Everything is kind of happening on the screen together with the little dude, and then we're zooming into the screen. So all of this is more or less one scene. So even though this is much longer than all the previous scenes, all of the assets are kind of being handed over and handed off and reused. So I wouldn't want to make a cut here and then use the assets again in a second scene. That doesn't make quite a lot of sense. So I'm gonna keep this as one scene. I'm gonna start the next scene here. So now we're at 10. And this scene is going on only for these 3 frames. But actually, the scene is continuing after this all the way until here. No, actually, all the way until here. So it might be wise to, even though we have like new assets here, it might be wise to just keep going with this scene. And also I want to remove these scene numbers here. It might be wise to just include this text in this scene. Yeah, I think I would. I could just create a sub scene here. So I could just say this is scene 10. And then this can just be a sub scene. I can already mark that in my storyboard. Just so that later on when I'm creating the files, I can make this a separate scene, but because I want it to be inside of the other scene, but maybe the layers are just going to be too many objects, I can separate it, but I can still bring it in as one scene, or put it together in After Effects at least. And this is now a completely new scene. So, whoops, what did I do? So this is scene 11. And then we finish it off with scene 12. And that's the end of the animation, because after that there's a little bit of screen capture by Andy. So the last thing that needs to be done before I start setting up my scene files is the subtitles, so that I can save it as a PDF, send it to Andy, and get final approval on the scenes. Because there's definitely something, this scene, the command and control, is definitely something that he needs to approve of, because in his visuals it looked very, very different. So because I went quite far away from his initial idea, I want to make sure that it was still on the same page, was still showing the same thing that he wants to be seen on screen while he's talking about that. So let's turn the script and the subtitle on, because now I want to copy this in here, and I want to make sure that I have a second version of this, because I want to copy paste this style. So I'll just copy paste this onto this here, because when I copy the text over, it keeps the original text's attributes. I wish I could like paste without copying over the attributes. I don't know if there's a way to do that. There is in like other software for text, but I don't know if there is for this, so I'm just gonna do it like this. Okay, and this is too long, so I'm gonna have to split this up. And then, therefore, yep. So this is going to be a bit of a quiet portion of this live stream, because I'm just essentially going to copy paste all of the text from the script at the top to the subtitle area for Andy to see while he's looking at the script. Come on. Oh, right. Not copying the correct look. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna have to cut this short earlier. Oops. Need to hold Alt to copy that while I'm dragging. And then the rest is this part of the sentence. Alright, and that fits that screen. Excellent. Save. Never forget to save while you're doing work. That takes a while. And credential access. This is really... Oh my god. That's like one sentence going across the entire thing. So let's just grab this for here. Okay. Since he started talking, since he's talking about discovery in this scene, I'm gonna skip this one for the subtitles. I'm just gonna continue with the subtitles in the screen where he's actually talking about the discovery. I think that'll make more sense. Oh, it's a little long. Or a network. Okay, let's see. Compromise, yeah. And then lateral movement is this. All right, save. Almost there now. Objective, yeah, and then complex. After Effects, Illustrator is also getting a little slow. Which means I've been working too long in it without closing it down for a moment. But we are almost there, so... It's also taking a little bit of time. Every time I save, it's not instantaneous, which is really strange. Okay. Come on, drag. Copied that somewhere else, apparently. Okay, yep. While I'm doing this, do feel free to ask me any burning questions you might have. Because I do realize this is a bit of a boring process while I'm doing this kind of admin work of the illustration process. But, you know, it's all part of it. Especially if you're doing this for a client project, you definitely want to have a nicely presented storyboard so that the client can kind of follow your process, see where you're going with this. Because a lot of clients who hire for animation services, they don't necessarily have the same insight as you do into how things work, even how things move. You know, there are the famous bad client quotes of, can you turn that photo of an elephant around, please, so we can see its face? And it's like, some clients just don't understand how digital objects work and how digital design works. So in doing this sort of process with the storyboard, you're trying to take somebody by the hand and walk them through something that you're very familiar with and that they are not as familiar with. So, you know, so this process that I'm going through right now may not be necessary for a personal project or a project that doesn't have a collaborator, but as soon as you have a collaborator, if that's a commercial client or even just a friend like Andy in this case, somebody who's come to you because they need your help because they don't know to create something that you can create. They don't know how to create that. It's good to kind of go through the full process to you know, show them how things work, how you work, and so on. So, it is a habit that I try to keep even for non-commercial projects. It's also because soon as you get out of the habit of following such certain processes and structures, you become a little lazy. At least I've noticed that about myself. So even if it's a personal project, I try and keep the same structures so that I stay consistent with my workflow. Ooh, does that fit just right? Nice. Can skip that screen then. I should probably save once in a while. like a double comma here. I'm gonna remove that. Hi! Welcome to the stream. Thanks for tuning in. You've come in just at the tail end of this stream, but it will be available on YouTube. So if you'd like to watch the whole stream, you can go back and watch it on the YouTube channel. That's okay. I mean, you know, you can't always show up for a 1.5 or 2 hour stream right at the beginning of it. But that's why I make the streams available on YouTube. So if you do want to follow along the whole thing, you can. But I do understand that these streams are pretty long, so I wouldn't expect you to watch all of them. Okay. I think I can just copy this whole thing. It might be just short enough. Yep. Save, and just one more screen. Yeah, this one. And then I can save it out, I can send it to Andy, and then one of the upcoming streams might be me talking to Andy about the storyboard. So it'll be another one of those interview style collabs that we did right at the beginning of this project. And we can talk about what he thinks about the design, what may need to change because it doesn't align with the information that he'd like to share, or the visuals that work with the information that he is sharing. So we'll probably have one of those streams. We'll see if we can set it up next week, but because that's quite short notice, I might do a different type of stream in between until I can set up a date with Andy to do that interview. So the upcoming streams on Tuesday and Friday next week might be something else. I might do a shut up and draw where you can come and draw with me and we'll just listen to some chill music and we'll draw together. Or maybe I'll do a work watching where I'll work on a completely separate different project and you can watch me do that. But I'll let you know on my social media what I'll be doing in the next few streams. But at this stage, now that the storyboard is finished from my side, I definitely need to get some feedback from Andy before I can move forward. And so once that feedback stage has passed, then I'll move into the preparation stage of this animation, basically taking all of the assets from the storyboard, setting up the scene files, and then after that, I'll import the scene files into After Effects, and then I'll finally start animating. So if you ever thought animation is just hitting a button and the thing moves, it is not like that, and you might have a better idea now that you've seen me work on this on multiple streams now. Okay, so we've got it. Now I'm going to export it. I can hit Control-Alt-E, I think. No, this exports it for screens. Maybe it's Control-E? Not in this app. I hate that the shortcuts are not the same. Right, it's actually a save because it's in all the other Adobe programs, saving out a PDF is an export, but in Illustrator is not an export, it's a save. It's like, why? Why are you making everything so bloody different? Okay, let's do a save. And I usually do a save as a copy, because if I do a save, it like replaces this Illustrator file, or at least inside of Illustrator, with a PDF. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to save as a copy. And I want to, actually I don't want to save everything because there's like all of these white screens. I guess I can cut them out. So this would be storyboard. Yeah, I mean, you know, this is the thing. I think it's not so much working with clients that already understand, but developing a way of communicating what you know that they don't know, you know. It's a really long process, and I'm definitely not at the end of this process. I'm still learning to communicate that. But if you encounter somebody that doesn't understand how complex something is, it's definitely a better method. Instead of going, oh my God, why do you not get it? It's better to be like, you know, it takes longer than you expect because of all of these stages that I have to go through. It includes all of this preparation that goes into an animation, and it includes all of this time that it takes to animate said thing that you would like me to animate, you know? So although I can definitely relate to the frustration of, why do you think this is just going to take an hour? I need to at least prepare and then also animate and then also render this thing. How can I possibly do that in an hour? I understand that frustration, and I've definitely felt it. But it's just, in order to educate the other party, it's, I think, a better approach to be like, well, you know, this is how it is. I'll take you by the hand and I'll talk you through the process so that then you might have a better idea. And the next time you work with a creative, you won't have this expectation that it's very fast and uncomplicated. That's how I try to frame it, at least. Okay, so I've saved it. No, I didn't. I wanted to see, okay, storyboard 49 is where this finishes. So I'm going to save it as PDF. I'm going to choose the range. This is not super necessary because I don't think anybody cares if there's a few blank frames at the end of it. But if you want to be super consistent, you can do it like that. And basically, this was the first storyboard. I can click on that and I have my whole naming system, and I'll just change it to the today's date, which is February 19th. And it's version 1. But the storyboard 1 will be version 2. So I'm saving this out. And I want to use the smallest file type. And I don't want to have any of this preserve Illustrator. So if you're saving out a storyboard that you're sending out to a client, definitely never have preserve Illustrator editing capabilities, because that means whoever you're sending this to is then going to be able to edit those assets. They're going to own the assets, and you don't want to do that. And give me just 1 second. I'm getting a phone call. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. That was my partner calling, and it's date night, so I'm gonna have to wrap this up. So I'm saving it, and you don't want to click preserve Illustrator editing capabilities. Optimized for fast web view, that's fine, because you're probably going to be emailing this out, so it's good to have that. I try to incorporate as few things here as possible, so that the file is really the smallest. It doesn't give too much information out. And that's basically it. Oh, hey. Okay, so because, so this is the reason I've just been adding the subtitles, because since I have the script, above here in a larger font, that's basically just for me. But I have a second layer. So this is what I've been doing for the past, I don't know, like 10 minutes maybe. I don't know, I don't know how time goes. Could have been half an hour, could have been 10 minutes. Thanks for joining. Yeah, so basically I've put this separate text layer on top of the frames, on top of the screens that I can turn on and off. And that's then what the client would see inside the PDF. So it's always like on top of the frames. And also the scene numbers are in here. Yeah, no worries. So that's basically the idea. So this is kind of the finishing touch that I do. It's not something I use in the animation. I don't use it for the designing stages. It's literally just for the client. I just put the script on top of the screen so that they can see the graphics alongside the script. Yeah, so I'll save that. And then I'll save a copy of this as well. And I'm gonna go into my finals folder. Oops, went one out, too many. And I need to save it as a PDF. And I'll grab this, and this is this SG01 is basically my version number. So instead of V01, I'm including my initials, because if I work in a team, it's sometimes useful to know who worked on that file, to use the initials instead of the V for version. So that's a habit I picked up from working in a team. And then I have storyboard 1 and storyboard 2, and here you see there is the preserved, this the Illustrator default is to keep the preserve Illustrator editing capabilities ticked on. And that's why I go to smallest file size, because it's literally just to look at for approval. It's no final files or anything. And that way all of that is in. Sometimes I'll even remove this scene number for the client because it's not relevant for them to see which scene it is. But sometimes it's just interesting for them. So sometimes I'll remove it, sometimes I'll keep it there. Depends on how I can judge the client and their knowledge of like graphical things. And that's basically the animation. Look at that, so beautiful. Oh, something's missing here. Uh-oh. Oh, okay, I know what happened. It might have kept the range selection. In this case, I don't want a range. I want all of them. So it kept the range selection. So I'm gonna go back inside. And I'm going to overwrite that file. And in this case, it's important that you close the file that was opened. Otherwise, it can't overwrite it. So now it's going to do the saving again. It's going to overwrite the previous file. And here's the animation, kind of. Ta-da! Da-da-da-da! I would like celebration. Celebration. No, that's celebrate. Maybe this one. No, that's music. I don't want that. Cheer. No, that's gonna be cheerleading, right? Damn it. Okay, I just wanted like a cheer sound effect, but I can't get it. Okay, never mind. Yeah, that's basically it. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed already and would like to support me, please subscribe. And I also have a Patreon and a Ko-fi where you can support me on a monetary basis. So party sound effect, yes. Okay, wait. Party sound effect. Let's see. No, that's not it. I'm gonna spend the last like few minutes just trying to find sound effects. Well, we did it. We did it. We've we finished the storyboard. Yeah, so I'll keep you posted when I'll be doing the interview with Andy, which will be the next stream in this series. And until then, until that date, I'll probably be doing other types of streams like the Shut Up and Draw or the Work Watching. So if that's not something you're interested in, then keep an eye out for my announcements when the animation collab will continue. And if you are interested in my other series, maybe you'd like to draw and we can draw together, then join me for the animation, the Shut Up and Draw, where we are either digitally or, what's the other non-digital? where we're drawing together on paper instead of digitally. I have a few projects that are still running, so I'll probably pick those back up and continue those. And also I should really finish that class that I've been procrastinating on. So that might be a subject for Work Watching that I might be working on. So until then, I hope to see you next time. Bye!